Tim Tszyu has a big test to overcome this weekend when he defends his world title at super welterweight against Sebastian Fundora. But another challenge is already waiting for him in the name of Terence "Bud" Crawford. Terence Crawford has recently put forward his wish to face Tim Tszyu next.
You don't know just yet, but is Tim Tszyu somebody that we could potentially see you in there with next?
Well, we shall see. Tim Tszyu got a tough fight in front of him with Keith Thurman. Hopefully, after that fight, we can see the next one.
Originally slated to face Keith Thurman, who pulled out due to an injury, Tim Tszyu will now look to defend his WBO title and pick up the WBC vacant super welterweight title against his new opponent, Fundora. The new challenger stands 22 centimeters taller than Tim, but Tim is confident in winning the fight. He believes that he'll go full Mike Tyson mode against Sebastian on March 30th. Tim stated, "I live by that. Never retreat. I fear no one. I would go into any fight, it doesn't matter. 2 weeks, 12 days, tall guy, whoever they put in front of me. I've just got to adapt, change, and take over. Mike Tyson did a lot of things in his prime, so hopefully I can do a Mike Tyson on him." Tim also said that he's willing to fight anyone next. If Errol Spence is not available, Tim is very likely to fight Crawford next. He also wishes to face a big challenge like Bud Crawford.
If Spence isn't available, would you do the Crawford fight?
100%.
Over here, we'll move it up.
100%. You know, like Crawford's a man. And, man, I'd love to take on a challenge.
Tim also believes that it's the biggest fight in boxing today, as him and Terence are the two best fighters currently. Tim stated, "Crawford's the #1 pound for pound in my opinion, so I'd say it's the biggest fight to be made at this moment of time. There's a lot on the line, and again, it's an added motivation. It's a little bit of that extra pull even though that motivation exists no matter what. My motivation has always been there, no matter what. It's simple. I just want to defeat every man possible." Showbiz the Adult believes that Sebastian replacing Keith Thurman was a blessing in disguise. He thinks Sebastian is going to challenge Tim, and the best part is that Terence will face the winner of the two.
Tszyu versus Fundora, to me, is a far better fight than Tszyu versus Crawford. Number one, he's been at 154 since the beginning of his career. 2, it wasn't going to be for a belt, but 3, you're talking about a body snatcher versus a guy who has a chandelier body, and he can't punch Tszyu off of it. He could dance around, but you saw what Tszyu did to Tony Harrison. Tszyu was going to shatter that body. So I want to say this to the PBC, fantastic, because that matchup, I knew the result so clear that I wasn't going to hype for the fight. Now PBC, we're talking about it. And now you got Crawford taking on the winner. Hopefully he gets in the ring. This is lit.
Tszyu's manager Glenn Jennings believes that a showdown with Bud Crawford will be worth $25 million and could be Tim's next fight if he defeats Sebastian Fundora in Sin City. Glenn stated, "We're talking big numbers. It would be the highest grossing fight in Australian boxing history. I would think $25 million would be the figure we're looking at for a Crawford-Tszyu fight, and that's American dollars. Crawford is a $1 million fighter, so if you draw a line from that, Tim would be around the 10 million mark, because he would be the unified champion going into that fight. He believes that a fight between Tim and Crawford will break records and will be one of the biggest fights in Australia's boxing history. A fight like this would be wonderful for Australian boxing and the sport worldwide. There is an absolute pathway there now. It's as serious as it's ever been, and we'll see where it lands after Tim gets the job done against Fundora on Sunday. No other Australian fight would come close to Tszyu Crawford. This would be a record breaker. Jennings believes if the fight gets done between Tszyu and Crawford, people shall not underestimate the best 154-pounder in the world. Jennings stated, "The boxing world will say Crawford is too good for Tszyu. Everyone said that up to date. We believe, and Terence Crawford and his team believe, that Tim Tszyu is the best 154 in the world. There's credit and stock behind that. That's not talk and making up numbers. So, we believe that given the opportunity for Tim to fight Crawford, we'll win the fight. There's no doubt in this camp and this team that we're not here for any other reason than to take everything." And this fight is very likely to happen next, as Tim's promoter George Rose is going to sit with Terence's team in the upcoming days and discuss the potential super fight. Rose stated, "We'll be sitting down with the Crawford team. We will discuss a potential super fight with the current pound-for-pound champion of the world. Crawford's team will be here in Vegas, so we'll have some talks." Rose stated that their prime focus is still on the match with Sebastian Fundora this weekend, but the fight with Terence is being considered at the back too. We're also talking with other parties, but our absolute focus is Fundora and making sure things run smoothly this week. There's so many exciting fights that can happen for Tim, and Crawford is one of them. There are 2 fighters on the horizon. Crawford is one of those 2, I won't mention the other one, but Crawford is absolutely being considered for Tszyu's next fight, and the fact he has come up to 154 shows he means business. Tim Tszyu versus Terence Crawford is indeed a fight to look forward to, but one can't underestimate Fundora. Terence Crawford will become mandatory when he comes up 154 and will most definitely challenge the winner of Tim versus Fundora. Many people are already thinking that Tim is going to win, but Fundora doesn't think that way as he wants to become the world champion.
There has been talk that Terence Crawford, from what we hear with the WBO, has been, the #1 mandatory at 154 if he wants to come up to this weight class. That would mean if Tim Tszyu is victorious, he might be in line to fight Terence Crawford. Do you think that he could be overlooking?
Of course, I don't really care what Tennessee does. I'm focused on this guy right here. This is how I become a world champion.
He also expressed his wish to face Terence Crawford. Fundora believes that if he beats Tim and then beats Crawford later, his name will be cemented in boxing history. He stated, "If I can get a fight with Terence Crawford, first off, he's the #1 pound for pound in my eyes. I'm pretty sure in a lot of people's eyes. So if I can get a win off of Terence Crawford, I'd have my place in the history of boxing." Leonard Ellerbe also believes that Tszyu shouldn't underestimate Fundora. He thinks that Fundora has a crazy height advantage, which might cause problems for Tim. Leonard also states that Tim didn't have much time to prepare for Sebastian because of Keith pulling out at the very last moment.
There's this tweet that you have in response of like a report of maybe Tim Tszyu might be thinking about Crawford already. You spoke a little bit, but it's how premature as a fighter at an elite level to be thinking ahead of maybe a Terence Crawford fight.
That's a no-no. That's definitely a no-no. I don't know what they thinking, but Fundora ain't no chump. He ain't no chump. He's a tough out for anyone. He's coming to fight like he always does, and I expect him to have his hands full.
I know you were very vocal on like, hey, don't be surprised. Like Thurman is coming to fight in this sense. Obviously Thurman's injured. Is that Fundora a more tougher fight because of the height and reach than Thurman, or equal?
Stylistically, I think he creates more problems. And another caveat is that Tim hadn't had ample time to prepare for a guy like Fundora.
However, Eddie Hearn believes that the fight between Tszyu and Fundora is not the biggest draw. He thinks Tim is a talented and exciting boxer, but Terence will still beat him if the fight ever happens.
Wow. I mean, to think that Tim Tszyu against Sebastian Fundora is on pay-per-view is mad. By the way, I don't mind the fight. I hated the Furman fight, but I think Keith Furman has zero appetite for boxing, and maybe that's why he's out of the fight. Tim Tszyu's really exciting, but no one knows who Tim Tszyu is in America, and Fundora's just got a spark. I mean, how that fight can be for a unification after he's just got knocked clean out, I don't really know, but good luck to him. Yeah. Tim Tszyu will beat Fundora. Tim Tszyu can fight. Yeah. He can fight. I mean, it's not, I don't think he beats Terence Crawford, but he's a strong, young boy who's, very exciting. There's money in Australia for those kind of fights. It's just that Terence Crawford, the numbers that he wants for those fights, I don't really know how you generate it on a pay-per-view that just doesn't rate.
Jeff Mayweather also believes that Terence Crawford will be on top if the potential fight happens. Jeff stated, "I would lean towards Crawford. I wouldn't say it's going to be a walk in the park for him. He thinks that this fight will be a way to show what Tim Tszyu is all about. Against Crawford, that's different. That's a whole other beast. That's a fight that would show the boxing world what Tim has to offer. To add to his legacy, that's why he wants to fight Tim Tszyu." Jeff also advises Terence to take the fight with Tim, as a fight with Canelo is not very likely to happen. Jeff stated, "Plus Crawford couldn't get the Canelo fight. He was trying as hard as he could to get Canelo, and that's not happening. Since it's not going to happen, you gotta take what's out there." Andre Rozier looks excited for this fight, but believes that Terence is level above Tim Tszyu. Rozier stated, "I'm really looking forward to seeing that fight, although I think that Terence Crawford is levels above Tszyu. It should still be interesting while it lasts." Dante Selby believes that Terence Crawford will be a hard challenge for Tim Tszyu. He thinks that Bud has many advantages over Tim.
Tszyu was looking at as the hottest name at 154 pounds. How does that fight look? dimensionally it's a bad fight. Tszyu is a come forward type of guy who, when he touches you, but he's the same type of guy as Crawford and beating up. They're no different. He's got a 70-inch arm reach and he's 5'8". He's got welterweight measurements, junior welterweight measurements. Bud is 5'8" with a 74-inch arm reach and he knows how to use his length. So that's going to be a problem from the beginning. So you have to do all kinds of extra stuff to get inside, which means you're going to take all the work coming in. You know Bud got real good defense, and he bites down and he gets hurt. So if you hurt him, he ain't going to get out of there easy anyway.
So what do you think about this matchup? Do you think this will happen in the future? Do let us know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and check out some of our other videos on the screen right now.